Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for attending the information session on Franklin University, Switzerland. My name is Matthias Caldwell, and I am the Western region representative for Franklin. So I am based out on the West Coast of the United States, working with students all the way from Oregon, Washington, down through California, Central South America, Western Canada, etc., Caribbean. So if you're coming from any of those areas, I am going to be your primary point of contact with any questions that you have. I always like to start my presentations with this aerial shot of Lugano, Switzerland, which is where Franklin is located. So we're located in the city of Lugano. It's the very southern kind of base of the Alps, right along the border with Italy. And so it is a very beautiful area to spend your time in university and college. As you can see, we're kind of right at the base of the mountains, right along Lake Lugano. So there's a lot of great activities to do, lots of outdoor activities. If you like hiking, skiing, snowboarding, we're within touching distance of all those types of outdoor sports. There's lots of water sports as well. So we have the opportunity to, go swimming, boating, yoga by the lake, sunset hikes, all those kind of things that students might want to do in terms of outdoor activity are going to be really readily accessible in the Lugano area. I really like to point out the fact too that while we're in Lugano and we're close to the downtown kind of city center, we still have our own campus, and it's about a 15-minute walk away from that downtown area. So that building you can see in the foreground of this slide is actually one of our campus buildings. So you can see we're within touching distance of that downtown kind of lakefront area, but we're not right in it. So you get that separation of being able to have your own campus, have your own area for students to be living and spending their time while still having that close range of access to the downtown city center. What is Franklin University, Switzerland at a glance? Well, we are an American private liberal arts university. We are American, so we're dual accredited. We have our home accreditation in the United States, but we're also accredited in Switzerland. So that makes us a very unique university for students to be looking at. So we are an American university abroad, which means it gives you that kind of best of both scenarios where you get that American school experience with all the resources, the structures that come with an American school, the housing on campus, the access to, federal financial aid, all the tutoring, those skill centers that you need on campus, etc., while still being located in the heart of mainland Europe. And so you still get that experience on another continent, another part of the world, which can be a really fun best of both scenario. We are a small university, smaller than many schools you'll be looking at. We come in at just under 400 students. And so it's going to be a very tight knit community. Students are going to be able to, plug right into that community right off the bat, find their friends, their people from kind of day one. It's going to be one of those places where, faculty, staff, your peers are going to know you and recognize you by name, by face. We jokingly say, we're not one of those schools where you can, attend class, put up your hood in the back of the class and fall asleep. Like that's not going to fly. It's an intimate classroom setting. You can see we have a 9-to-1 student to faculty ratio, average class size of about 16. So it is a place where students can really engage academically with their peers and develop those working relationships with faculty, with staff, and kind of build those networking opportunities on campus and really get that personalized touch to your education that many students really want. We're a very international school as well. And so you can see we have, many different nationalities represented there on the bottom of the slide. We have, of course, being an American university, we have a lot of students coming from all across the United States and North America. But we also get a lot of students from, greater Europe. We get students from Central America, South America, the Caribbean, Asia, Middle East, you name it. We're going to be pulling students in from those different regions of the world, which is just a really exciting thing for our students. A big part of Franklin's ethos, a big part of its kind of mandate is to develop global citizens. So this is an environment where students are regularly going to be interacting with people from different backgrounds, different cultural experiences. And so you will have the ability to develop your cross-cultural competency while living and attending the Franklin experience. And so You'll be going to a school where people will be speaking multiple different languages and coming from all sorts of different walks of life, which is just a really exciting thing for our students. It helps them develop personally and professionally, in an increasingly globalized world. Those kinds of skills, those soft skills, can be really important for a variety of jobs that students might be entertaining down the road. So I've said that we're located in Lugano, Switzerland, but where exactly is that? Well, you can see on the map in the bottom left of the screen there, that yellow highlighted region is Canton Ticino. It's just kind of like a province within, the country of Switzerland. It is the Italian-speaking region of Switzerland, which is a really fun aspect of attending school at Franklin. So, Lugano is located right along the border with Italy, and so Canton Ticino has this really great blend of Swiss and Italian culture. You get all the things that we associate from, Swiss culture, the timeliness, the efficiency, the buses running on time, the trains running on time, the cheese, the chocolate, etc. But you also get a little bit more of that laid back atmosphere kind of permeating across the border from Italy. Those the language of it, that we think of as a little bit more Mediterranean. We get the cuisines from Italy, the pizzas, the pastas, gelatos that we love. And so you get that in Lugano as well, which is a really fun aspect of it. It's just kind of that best of both mix of the two cultures, which is a lot of fun. Lugano is not a large city by American standards. It's only about 60,000 people. But it is still an influential city, and it's actually still the 8th largest city in Switzerland. It is the 3rd biggest financial center in Switzerland. So there is a lot of different things happening in the region. It's a hub for, business, people coming through for a variety of different things, tourism. There's a lot going on in the city. And it is really a great placement. It's within touching distance of a lot of different areas. And so most notably, you're within, a couple hours of Zurich. It's just a 2-hour train ride south of Zurich. So very easy to get in and out of the country that way, that Zurich airport. It's actually only an hour north of Milan in the airport there as well. So really easy to, take the trains and explore Switzerland, hop on a quick flight from one of those 2 main airports in the area and see a different part of the continent. And that is something that, our students are very excited about, is the ability to, have that American education, that American structured university, but in the heart of mainland Europe, within touching distance of so many different regions of that continent. Easy access. You can take a weekend trip to the UK, to Spain. You can hop over the border and do your grocery shopping in Italy. There's a lot of different ways for students to be able to kind of experience more than just the day-to-day in Lugano. In terms of academics, as I've mentioned, we are a private liberal arts university. And so, of course, we're going to be strong in a lot of those humanities, the social sciences, those arts, the histories, the language studies, cultural studies, psychology, literature, etc. Those things that we traditionally associate with liberal arts schools. They're going to be right in our wheelhouse. But we are a niche school in some ways. We're located in a banking and finance hub for the world in Switzerland. So, of course, we're going to have some really strong internationally focused business type programs. So in banking, finance, economics, international management, international marketing, etc. From a political standpoint as well, great international relations programs. And then, we have some strong sciences too. So our environmental sciences program is really strong. And it does have that kind of ability to look at environmental issues from a global kind of sustainability perspective. We got the pre-health sciences for students that want to go, on to medical school. And I think the important thing to keep in mind is just really that all of our majors are going to have that that ability to look at these topics from a global lens or a worldwide kind of angle, which is going to typify a lot of the studies at Franklin. In terms of minors, very similar content here. Most of the majors reflected are going to have minor options, or at least many of them will. But there are a couple ones to point out. We do have a mathematics minor that might pair well with, some kind of economics major. Germanic studies, the German language studies are going to be a minor instead of a major. And then another important one is the legal studies minor. And so, we do have the ability to track students into that kind of pre-law track. It's just not going to be a major by itself. It'll be a minor tacked on to another major that is one of those traditional majors that students can take to prepare for law school. In terms of resources, this is an important discussion. So Franklin, as I've mentioned, is an American institution. We're an American university abroad, so that accreditation in the United States is super important to our core. And this means that we're going to have a lot of those structures and resources that you associate with an American school. The writing and learning centers on campus, tutoring, these academic support services are going to be present on the Franklin campus, just like any other American school's campus. Counseling and health services, so those mental health and physical well-being of our students is super important. And we're going to have all the same resources available for those issues, just as an American school would in the United States. Really important one to talk about: housing. I know a lot of European institutions, the housing scenario is different. You might have housing that's university housing, but kind of scattered throughout the city. It might be a commute to get to campus. That is not the case with Franklin. So we have our own campus, right on the outskirts of the downtown area, which I mentioned in that first slide. That's why I highlighted it, is because it is important. We have our own campus grounds, which allows us to have our on-campus housing. And so students do have that ability to be in the thick of things, to be where they need to be at all times, develop that community, and really plug in to the campus in a way that can be difficult at other European institutions. And so that is something that has been a really great thing for us to be able to provide that to our students and match what people come to expect from an American institution. And then lots of student activities, right? Those clubs and organizations, student-led organizations on any American campus we're going to have as well. And so we're going to have that ability for students to be able to invest their time, their energy in the campus community, build relationships, and just generally have a lot of fun while they're attending Franklin. Next up to talk about is something called academic travel. And academic travel is one of the most unique aspects of Franklin. It is a way that we have developed over our history to build travel experiences into our academic curriculum. And so students will take something called an academic travel course. They will take one academic travel course every semester. So they'll take 2 per year. And that academic travel course is going to meet really like any other class once a week. This one will be once a week instead of twice a week, but they'll meet, on a Wednesday. They'll study a topic just like any other course they're taking that semester. But the difference is that in the middle of the semester, the campus kind of shuts down and all students will go out on these faculty-designed, faculty-led immersive learning experiences to a location off campus that is pertinent to the topic they're studying. And so it's a way for them to gain experiential learning about the topic of the class. So they'll go out for anywhere between 10 days, 2 weeks. They'll experience a region that's relevant to that subject that they're learning. And then, when that trip is kind of wrapped up and class comes back to campus, they'll continue learning about that subject in a classroom setting, just like the rest of their classes, and they'll wrap up their other coursework as well for the rest of this semester. So it is a unique experience. It's credit bearing. There are a variety of locations that people go to for academic travel trips. So all around Switzerland, all around mainland Europe, and then even all across the world. There are trips that go back to the United States. There are trips that go to South Africa, Japan in years past. And so there's just a real opportunity for students to experience other parts of the world that might be relevant to the coursework they're studying. So again, that global lens is going to be apparent in the academic curriculum at Franklin. They're not major specific, although some majors will prefer students to take an academic travel course that's pertinent to the topic that they're studying for that major. Some kind of classic examples of what an academic travel course might be. So there's been a pretty popular trip in recent years to Iceland, looking at how the natural world and the human world interact. So looking at issues of climate change and globalization, modernization, urbanization, what are the effects of ecotourism on the environment, things like that. And so the students will go on that faculty-designed, faculty-led trip. They'll go and travel around Iceland, study that topic in a place that gets a ton of ecotourism, see firsthand what that does to the environment, what that's like for the society there. and get to experience that. Then they'll come back to campus and wrap up their course, on campus with the rest of their classes. Another kind of classic example is that maybe it's a class on Roman history. And so students will be able to go for, 10 days to Rome and be able to look at those sites, those topics that they're learning about in class, but from a firsthand experience, and see those things, with their own eyes before they come in, wrap up the class on campus. First year experience is another thing that people have a lot of questions about when someone is entertaining the idea of studying maybe potentially far away from home. What's that going to be like to kind of embed yourself in the campus in that first semester, that first year? And there's a lot of ways that we will take steps to try and make sure that's a smooth process. We start by offering recommended flights. So we'll give you in the springtime, once you've been admitted and confirm your place, we'll send out a host of recommended flights that students might want to entertain to get to campus. So we're not just turning you loose to do it by yourself. It's also nice because everybody's getting those same recommended flights. So you may end up on a flight with people. You can coordinate via some of our social media groups once you've been admitted, our Facebook group, Instagram, if you're meeting students that way. And you can, maybe plan to travel on the same flight as people if you want to, be able to arrive at campus together. But ultimately, we're going to have ways of kind of facilitating that. New student orientation. This is key, right? Just like any other American school, that resource, that structure of a robust orientation process is going to be present at Franklin as well. And so students get all sorts of pre-programming to, everything from placement testing that takes place beforehand to, familiarizing yourself with resources on campus, to academic advising that takes place during orientation, registering for classes. I mean, you name it, they're going to have the ability to be acclimated to their new environment. You're going to help them, make sure that they have all the things that they need for their room, etc. And then at the end, it's going to culminate with a day trip to Valley of Resaca, which is, a nearby location. It's gorgeous, a place for them to go hiking, swimming, etc. Student housing, again, I've already talked about this, but we have that housing on campus. So that is another way that kind of ensures that students in their first semester, their first year are plugged into everything. You're right where you need to be. And then those student activities, like I mentioned, not just the clubs on campus, the student-led organizations, but also activities we host either on or off campus. So we might, I would highlight the International Food Night, which is just a really great way for people from all over the world that are attending Franklin to be able to showcase their culture, their heritage, their homeland, and maybe make some food and kind of share that with people in an International Food Night. Franklin visits are kind of like small scale versions of academic travel trips. So instead of going for like 2 weeks, it might just be a weekend trip to Verona, Italy, where you're getting a Shakespearean view of the city, where Romeo and Juliet was set, etc. So it's something like that, a smaller scale kind of academic travel trip. But that's going to be able to help students, plug into the campus, meet people, meet faculty that are leading these trips, and just really be able to have a lot of things going on. And then, of course, students are traveling on their own sometimes as well. Not every weekend, not every day, but if you get your homework done and you have that free weekend, a little bit of free change to hop on a flight to Germany, for example, maybe you take a weekend trip to another country and get to experience that. So there's a lot of different things, taking place on and around campus and throughout the semester and the year. Residence halls. So I keep talking about the residence halls. This is something that's, like I said, it's really important to our campus. And I just want to highlight the fact that our residence halls, while being on campus and traditional in that sense, are a little bit different than what you might experience on, a normal U.S. campus. And in the sense that it's going to be more like an on-campus apartment style living at Franklin, which is something that we're really happy about. There are some singles. Those typically go to upperclassmen, but you have doubles, you have triple, multiple rooms. A lot of them have kitchen access. People are often really excited that they're not sharing a bathroom with like 30, 40 people at the end of the hall. It's just you and kind of that apartment style living, sharing that common area. And so that's something that our students can get really excited about, is just the fact that they get to be in the thick of things on campus, but they don't necessarily have to be in that kind of small cell block style 2x2, classic dorm hall. This right here is just kind of a snapshot of our campus. It's one campus, but technically split into two, separated by a short little 5 to 10 minute walk. You can see there's the Calich campus and the North campus, and those highlighted yellow buildings are our dorm buildings. And so you can see that they are right on campus, like I've been saying. And it's a pretty compact, campus, which is really nice. It's not a place that you're going to get lost in the thick of things. Our size means that there's going to be that personal touch to everything that happens on campus. And so students really can be known and get to know everybody that are part of the Franklin community. So transitioning out of academics and student life, and now talking a little bit more about kind of the nitty-gritty stuff of applying and what kind of programs we have, et cetera. So these programs of study are listed right here. We have, of course, our 4-year bachelor degree program, which is what a lot of our students are doing, just applying into Franklin, just like they would apply to any other 4-year program across the United States. We do have an expedited 3-year program for students that are carrying a lot of credit in. But you would really want to link up with me or whoever your admissions counselor is, just to discuss that see if that's a realistic possibility. But there are students that can achieve that and finish up in 3 years with us. We also have some partnership programs. So within our own programs, we have a 3x1 graduate degree. So you finish those carrying credit students that you can finish in 3 and go right into a 4th year that's earning a graduate degree. We have a 2x2 program with Emerson College where they do their first 2 years with us and then, have a guaranteed place at Emerson for the junior and senior year. Over on the East Coast, we have a 3x1 program with Emerson as well, where you can finish up your bachelor's in 3 years with us, and then have a guaranteed 1-year master's with Emerson in a few select master's opportunities. So there are some unique opportunities that we do offer. So that would be something to reach out to your counselor about as well if you're interested. We also get a lot of study abroad students. So it's not only degree seeking students that we have. We have students that come to us for a semester or for a year. And so if that is you, absolutely, consider us. We're a wonderful place to spend even a short period of time. And if you spend any time with us at all, you are part of the community for life, and you can call Franklin home. We also get visiting students, so gap year students that are taking that year off to do some study in between, high school and another college experience. And so if that's you, you can find a home with Franklin as well. We do have summer programs, so keep those in mind. So there's a lot of different ways that you can be part of the Franklin community. In terms of the application process, what exactly are we looking for? Well, you can apply in two, main ways. You can apply through the common application, or you can apply through our own, university specific application on our website at fus.edu. You can just find the apply now link, very easy to see on the homepage. And apply that way. So either that or the common app, very easy to apply. And the application itself is going to be pretty straightforward. Not a lot of extra stuff we're asking for you. We're going to have a personal statement. This is where students have the opportunity to really talk a little bit more about themselves outside of what we can see on a transcript. A really good place in the state, a really good thing to do in the statement is tell us why Franklin is the right fit for you, why you're a good fit for Franklin. It's a two-way street there. Do you have international experience? Why do you want an international experience? Those kind of things are going to be really important. Fit is a really important factor in deciding, who gets to attend Franklin when we're making those admissions decisions. And so we really want to make sure that this is going to be the right fit for you as a student, or you for us, etc. And then, of course, you're going to submit your transcripts to us, transcripts from any and all institutions that you've attended. So if you've switched high schools, we're going to need all, transcripts from all the high schools you've attended. If you are a transfer student and you've attended some college, university work, we're going to need to see those transcripts as well. We also will need at least one letter of recommendation, and it needs to be academic. So from a teacher, from a counselor. As much as our friends, parents know us very well, please don't submit those. We really want to see that letter of recommendation coming from an academic source. And then test scores are optional. So we have been test optional since before COVID, and we've continued, and that shows no sign of changing. And so you can submit a test score to us, an SAT and ACT to us if you want. If you feel like it, accurately reflects your academic performance and you want to submit that, we'll receive it. That's great. and we'll incorporate it into the evaluation. But if you do not want to, you will not be penalized for that. The only catch here is that if you are applying from outside of the United States, and your primary language of instruction in whatever school you're attending and going to be graduating from is not English, then we will need an English language proficiency test to be submitted with your application. So, a Duolingo, IELTS, TOEFL, etc. If you apply before December 1st for our fall applicants, it's going to waive that application fee, which is great. It's going to get you in that kind of first rung of consideration for admission. And we always recommend people to apply early, just to be able to get that information early. Our application opened in August, and we do rolling admission all throughout the year. In terms of the actual review of the application, I've talked a little bit about this in the last slide, but it is a holistic review. So we're looking at grades and transcripts. We're looking at that essay statement. We're looking at you from a number of different perspectives. We're going to look at your extracurriculars. You might submit a resume, those kind of things that give us a full picture of the student beyond just the classroom. Our average incoming student has, a number of these kind of GPA and test scores. Again, those test scores are they're optional, so you're not required to submit a test. And we have students that come in above and below these scores. We get a lot of IB students. I think the really important thing from this slide to point out is just that UW. Everything we do for GPA is going to be on an unweighted GPA kind of standard. And so if you are coming from one of those schools where your GPA is weighted, just keep in mind that we're going to be recalculating your GPA to an unweighted standard. And that's just something to be aware of. I think that 3.4 indicates right there, that average GPA coming in indicates that Franklin, accepts a lot of, competitive applicants, really strong academic students, but at the same time, we're not an unattainable school to be admitted to. We're somewhere where you really can be admitted if you can show and demonstrate the right, fit across a number of different categories. This is a question a lot of people are always wondering about is, well, what does it cost to attend? We do have, a few different rates here. I've got, our US and Canada tuition, the international tuition students, and then our Swiss and EU students there as well. I'm going to talk mostly just about that first top bit. They're pretty similar costs for the most part, is translated into, different currencies. So as you can see, we have some direct costs and indirect costs. Direct costs are going to be things like tuition, fees, housing that we require, etc. Indirect costs are going to be, our estimation of your trip to campus, books and supplies, any kind of estimation of what you might spend on, recreational activities throughout the year. And so that is how we've arrived at that total cost per semester. And this is the total cost that we're estimating. So that is including not just tuition, but housing, et cetera. So as you can see, we're right around that kind of 69, 70,000 US dollars for the year. And that's that total cost. And that's including, academic travel. So all these things that I've been talking about are really going to be built into that cost. And it's because, many students are coming from so far away, we find it's easier to do it kind of in this total cost rather than, breaking it down by only talking about tuition or only talking about this or that. It's better to look at the full picture and get a sense of what the full picture is going to look like, and then go from there. Now, of course, this is not factoring in any kind of scholarship or financial aid yet. This is just the ticker tape price. So please, don't get too worried if this looks like a lot. Students, are receiving a lot of aid. In fact, 70% of our students are receiving financial aid of some kind. A lot of this might be coming in, the form of FAFSA if you're an American student and you're applying for the FAFSA through that. We will accept that form of financial aid. Students can get EU discounts if they are, holding dual citizenship with the European Union. We have a LLS. The acronym is really just for our version of a work study program. But really, one of the biggest and the major ways that students are going to be getting, money toward their college time at Franklin is through our merit awards. And so these are based on academics, these merit awards, and they range from anywhere from around 12,000 to into the early 20,000s worth of dollars per year. And so you can get significant chunks of money, knocked off of those rates that we were talking about on the slide before. And of course, the higher your GPA, the better chance you have of getting those larger awards. And so it is incentive to keep working hard, to keep those GPAs up until the time you apply. We also have some select few institutional scholarships in addition to the merit awards that students can sometimes qualify for. And of course, there's federal direct loans, private loans, different types of benefit services that students can access that we'll accept. And so there are a number of ways to help pay for college with Franklin. And so if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us and we can talk more about that on kind of an individualized basis. So of course, Franklin outcomes. What are our students doing? This is always a question that people have. Students have this question, parents want to know this, and it's a great question to ask. As you can see, we have the vast majority of our students are, employed full-time within 12 months of graduation. And so, we do have some pretty good outcomes there. We are, like I've mentioned, a global institution with connections all over the world. We draw people from all over the world. Those alumni go back sometimes to their home countries or regions of the world. And so we have these connections all over. And so that bottom left of this slide just really does indicate a number of the different areas that students have gone on to find employment or gone on to graduate school in. And as you can see, they're anywhere and everywhere that you might imagine across the globe. Now, this wheel on the right-hand side of the screen is what I mentioned earlier when we were talking about academics. So that first wheel I showed you in the academic slide showed what students were choosing when they are first, thinking about attending Franklin, and they make that decision. And now this is showing where they actually ended up going to kind of go on into work. And so you can see that it's slightly different than what those majors look like. And so a lot of people going on into the finance and technology regions, service regions, nonprofit, arts and entertainment, education, government organizations, etc. So this covers a broad scope of employments, the employment spectrum. And so there are a lot of opportunities to find work, to find employment, in a variety of different fields. We have internship opportunities for all of our students along the way if they seek them out. And so there are definitely going to be ways to, develop your prospects while you're at Franklin and then once you graduate. So this is our contact information of the team. As you can see, the bottom staff here, I'm listed on the bottom right there. That's going to be my contact email. So if you are in the Western United States, feel free to reach out to me. And then the bottom staff there is going to be our admissions team in the U.S. So Harry tends to cover the center of the United States. Katie covers the East Coast, and I cover the West Coast. So that gives you a sense of who you might be reaching out to. Now, if I can get my embedded video here to work, which they sometimes do, sometimes don't, I'm going to finish up this presentation with a video that I feel like is a great encapsulation of the Franklin experience.
My students are coming from a very different background than I came from. And they have very different understandings of things. And they've a different point of view and a different worldview from what I'm used to and what I grew up with. And that is very instructive as well.
The biggest advantages of being at Franklin, being surrounded by so many different nationalities.
The student body here is very unique, in the sense that you have people from over the world.
Because of its small size, I feel like we're such a close family.
The international aspect of it is so different. Because not only do you travel to different parts of the world, but you're in an international environment.
It's such a unique college, a small college in Switzerland with American education, but Swiss education as well. And at the center of Europe,
we have over 60 nationalities, we have 400 students. You're exposed to these different points of view, different understandings, different backgrounds. And in that sense, that is very enriching as a teacher, but also I should imagine as a student.
That combined with our location, the fact that we do these academic travels every semester really provides students with unique education. I think that makes Franklin a very special place.
Lugano, it's just very surreal. I literally feel like I'm living in a postcard.
I find it shocking that going back home now, I get like Lugano, it's like I want to come back to Franklin, I want to come back here. I love Lugano. It's such a beautiful place.
The lake here is absolutely beautiful. It's surrounded by the mountains.
When we came in on the flight and I woke up and my head was against the window and I look out, I was just like, oh my God. I'm gonna got something to this is just incredible.
This is fantastic, and that's important. I think it's easier to learn and to study in such a beautiful environment.
Franklin does show up on the landscape of higher education as something very particular. And for me, it was, I like the one-on-one, discussion with the students.
My classes are usually around 15 or 16, so you really get to know your students.
If we need any help, any extra help, I feel like the professors are always willing to walk that extra mile and help us through it.
They do care and they have the time to be able to care.
They really get to know their strengths and weaknesses, where they need to improve, what they should be encouraged with.
If you teach them everything about the world, but if you don't care about them, it means nothing.
In addition to the fact that it's such a small classroom setting, when you have all the different perspectives from people around the world, it adds so many more dimensions to what you're learning, to the conversation.
When you have that many nationalities and ethnicities and different religions in front of you, but you really have to think very carefully what you do every step along the way in the classroom. So it makes you a better thinker. It makes you a more sensitive person as well, because you have to be so aware to cultural issues.
We have students in the class who are actually from these places, and they seem so foreign and so distant from ourselves when we're reading them in a textbook. But then when we have people who can actually speak to their experiences, it's something quite different. And
It's a very good thing. That's one of the big benefits, I would say, because it's impossible not to be changed or influenced by it. And you become very open-minded.
An issue that's happening in the US, but then like someone else from the Middle East just comes in and says his opinion and what happens in his country, then what happens in Central America, and you get all this sort of facts that just make it a real international experience.
it's really an amazing part of my experience at Franklin.
Academic travel happens every semester, and you have a professor lead a group of about between 20 to 30 students to a particular country.
Travel is something out of this world. You have this small group of people put together.
It's kind of this time with campus where you're given this opportunity not only to travel but to meet people, to go to Franklin you would not otherwise necessarily meet before. Just
2 weeks and you're always, next to each other. And
Because you have to think about a subject and you have to think about a place, and then you have to think about how to put these two together, and then insert the students into that. So
And it's a chance for students to really sort of practice being these global citizens that we strive to create at Franklin.
the travel it's a really amazing learning experience. And I feel like what we learn in the classroom, we tend to forget that it applies to all the places around us. You really do gain the understanding of a different culture very well on travel.
We have many opportunities to really get a sense of what's going on there. We
Cannot underestimate the importance of actually being there, of being in a culture, of being in a particular place, understanding how a society works.
My first one was to Venice. Then I went to Serbia and Croatia with Professor Dudukovic. Then New York and Boston with Seneca, Mason Travel. Then Brazil, South Korea, and now was Malawi and Mozambique. What they say about Malawi, the warm part of Africa, is completely true. Freedom Gardens, for sure, was another highlight for me completely. It's such a good idea and an initiative that they're doing. The children, they take your breath away. They're so sweet and cute and nice, and it was an eye opener. I loved it.
It added an extra level in there of understanding, and it made these things real.
And I don't think it's possible to put it all together instantly. But once everybody comes back and you bring them back into the classroom, I think that's where the big steps of learning take place.
Because we all come from different parts of the world. When we come here, we want to show people like the great and nice parts of our culture.
I think it's more than exciting, it's a very exhilarating experience, but they want to know more about the culture and enjoy the event for what it entails.
What we learn through campus events, I think It's so much fun and it's so memorable because you would go back home and you would remember those things. You would remember all the fun that you had. I've learned so much and I've grown so much as a person. And I think when you graduate, this is what's going to matter.
It was amazing. I don't even think I expected such a seamless integration or transition into the culture.
They talk about Franklin family, and that's certainly true.
Well, thank you for attending this presentation. Thanks for sticking with me all the way through, for listening to that video. It's a little bit of a long video, but I do feel like it gives you a really good indication in students' own words and faculty's own words about what to, expect from your Franklin experience. I'm going to do my best to answer any questions that you might have in the chat, and we'll go from there. Thank you for your time.